And speaking of women's stories and inspiration and following, you know, the new coming of things and women finding inspiration in the new way of doing things, Caitlin Clark is the gift that keeps on giving. And in case, you've just been off the grid on an island somewhere, she's been having a very tumultuous rookie season so far, not even talking about what's happening on the court. I think that's the most expected part of this all is what's happening on the court and her getting adjusted. We're talking about everything outside of the game, outside of the arena, I should say. So listen, obviously we know Diana Taurasi was very vocal about Caitlin Clark's transition into the W, and she was proven right. Also, Cheryl Swoops, I have to go ahead and go to bat for her. She had her opinions about Caitlin Clark also proven right to a degree, right? So these have been opinions about Caitlin Clark, the player, and her transition into the game, which again have been proven right. But for some reason, men have decided to take it upon themselves to make this a women versus Caitlin Clark thing, but more specifically, a WNBA players versus Caitlin Clark thing. So, in case you haven't known, there's been a bunch of comments saying that women are hating on Caitlin Clark. Don't be petty like the men, be better than the men, X, Y, and Z. And there have been a lot of opinions being had and being shared on social media from everybody from male media members to female media members to former players to just fans of the game overall. Everyone has an opinion. So we're going to go ahead and share our opinions right here on We Need to Talk Now. So Alicia, I'm going to start with you, girl. Where do you want to start here? Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with who are these women that people are referring to, because there are no specific names.
Right.
People are just saying women in general. Mm-hmm. So let's start with that, because there isn't. Even Jonquil Jones,
yes,
she actually tweeted this and she said, interesting to know who are all the women that are hating on Cece. I'm seeing a lot of coverage about it, but I don't see the hate. I'm also not a big comment reader, so I might have missed it.
Right.
And I thought that was a fair thing to say. It's like, well, first of all, I don't be reading these comments, so maybe I'm wrong, but where is it? Mm-hmm. And nobody could present that because it is nowhere. There is no hate on Caitlin Clark. As a matter of fact, so many people have given Caitlin Clark praise. They know what she has brought to this league. Mm-hmm. They know what she did for college ball. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that. But when it comes to competition, mm-hmm. all players are equal. Mm-hmm. When we get out there on the court, there are 144 women in that league, including Caitlin Clark, that are going to get out there and be competitive every single night, no matter what. We're not going to go easy on rookies. Mm-hmm. Angel Reese, as a matter of fact, the other day after Alyssa Thomas got a flagrant 2 mm-hmm. Against her, she said she thanked her, number one, for teaching her a lesson that she could get back up after something like that happened. Mm-hmm. And she also said, they're not supposed to like us
or make it easy for us, right?
They're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. And that is the simple fact. These women are competitors, mm-hmm. as are every woman who's playing sports right now. We're competitors. We're not just going to be like, well, Caitlin Clark, she's done so much, let's just take it easy on her. Mm-hmm. No, we're going to look at our scouting report and D her up. Mm-hmm. That is what women, and I'm saying it like I'm playing, but you understand what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
That is what
women. I talk about the Knicks the same way. I say we, all that,
Yes.
Last time I didn't suit up for them, so.
Yeah. But nobody's going to get out there and just give anyone, mm-hmm. I don't care who it is, an easy pass. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what Diana was saying. That's exactly what Cheryl was saying. That is what they were all saying, is that we ball out here. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a transition. And that is exactly what we're seeing with Caitlin. And she's getting better. Mm-hmm. She's figuring things out. You can see that in her play. Mm-hmm. But by no means is anyone going to get out there just because of a precedence that she set that has been great and they have thanked her for, mm-hmm. and think is great. They're not just going to go easy on her. They're going to play her like a player because that is what she is.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of opinions regarding this topic. For starters, I agree with that. I think that we see this in the NBA. You know, when you come in, you're a top draft prospect, you know, you get a little bit of a welcome to the NBA hazing, if you will. And whether or not you like it, it happens. You know, there's no difference than when you see rookies carrying those little Barbie backpacks to the locker room. It's a hazing process where they have to get the rookie dinner, you know, and it's $20,000. We do that, see that in the NFL all the time. Or, you know, they got to get the Chick-fil-A for the whole airplane, and like they're holding the Chick-fil-A in the team photo, and it happens. There's a coming there's a welcome to the professional league, insert professional league kind of hazing process, if you will, right? So I don't think what's happening to Caitlin Clark is any different than what has happened to any other rookie. I think the only difference is the microscope that she's under is drastically different, right? So it's magnifying something that is very much traditional when it comes to the transition from college to professional. Now, when we talk about stop hating on Caitlin Clark, I don't think it's fair to equate normal criticism and dissection of a player's transition as hate. It's a fair analysis, it's a fair conversation within the realms of the game. I don't think it's hating to say, so immensely grateful for what Caitlin Clark has done for the women's game in such a short amount of time. But let's also not forget that a lot of these things were already in the works. It's just her star power that expedited the process. That's also fair to say. There's facts to back that up. Chartered flights, the revenue of the W, viewership of the W, all of those things have been in the works before Caitlin Clark was ever in the professional league. Again, she expedited the process. She didn't start the process. So that's two very different things. Now, lastly, if we're being honest, are there some women in the league that may be a little bit jealous of all the attention that Caitlin Clark is getting because of, you know, whatever she's doing for the W in terms of viewership, in terms of, you know, expediting certain processes? Sure. Jealousy is a natural reaction, especially when you're a competitor. I'm sure there are men in the NBA who are jealous of other players who come into the league and all of a sudden they're getting credited for things that already happened before them and now the star. It's a natural thing. But what I don't appreciate is when that perceived emotion, and again, it's probably very realistic. I'm sure if you polled every single woman in the WNBA anonymously, somebody would be like, yeah, I don't like her. I don't know why she's getting all the attention we were doing. I'm sure you would find a few. But unless you're going to go ahead and name names, unless you're going to go ahead and directly point to that person and that player to make a generalized statement about the women in the WNBA without having a fact or facts to back you up is making it seem like women are incapable of celebrating other women when other women are helping to push forward something that all women in this league want, and that is more respect, more recognition, more, you know, perks, more money, more everything. Unless you're going to go ahead and singly point out a woman that you think is jealous of her, do not generalize a statement like that because it's extremely dangerous, I believe, to the advancement of women. And that's my biggest problem. Nobody's saying that there isn't somewhere in the league a hater. I'm sure there is. Everybody has at least one hater. If you're doing something right, what they say, if you don't have haters, you ain't popping. I'm sure she exists in the league. I'm sure there's a few, but you're literally throwing something out there that you definitely don't know is a fact and presenting it as one. And that's the biggest thing that I feel like everyone's having an issue with. And that's what's the dangerous part about this narrative that's being pushed out there.
Yeah, and I would challenge the word jealousy.
Okay.
I would, because I think that what people are saying and pointing out is the discrepancy
Mm-hmm.
at which she is covered, at which she got her charter flight for, you know, the discrepancy on at which people are covering her and how they are covering her and how they are not covering other people. I think that there is a lot of agenda setting when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to Caitlin Clark.
Well, that's
I
different.
and this is not Caitlin's fault.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is not Caitlin's fault, but I think a lot of the players where they're saying they're hating and all of those types of
Mm-hmm.
things, I think it's more of, no, this is happening there are other players in this league that are doing great
Mhm.
things. There are other players that have moved the needle.
Mhm.
Let's cover it all equally. Let's make sure that when we put these charter flights out that it makes sense and it's not necessarily just because she's on the team, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying that is exactly what happened, but these are the conversations that are happening
Mhm.
around that are leading to people saying they're hating on her. No, they're not. They're hating on the way that people are responding to
Mhm.
her in this league and the way that they are covering her versus covering other people.
Well,
And
I think that's
that is something that does need to be
I think
addressed.
well, to agree, yeah, I think that's natural though, right? I think that whenever you have someone that it's no different than when they did it to LeBron when he came into the league, right? I think when you have a certain star power, there is going to be a certain type of reporting done, whether it's factual or not. And I agree with you. I think if you're going to go ahead and give an analysis, it should be factual and looking at the entirety of a picture rather than just the immediate, present time and using that to go ahead and generalize an entire window or timeline, right? But I think to a degree, I can understand the fascination because Caitlin Clark was huge coming out of college. She was huge in college. So automatically, every media company in the world is going to go Caitlin Clark, and then everybody else follows. I get it. I understand how the game works. I can understand the frustration in the reporting, but we've seen it before. And when the next girl, the next Caitlin Clark, and I put that in air quotes because I don't think she's like replaceable like that, but the next phenom
Right.
that comes out of college, they're going to do the same thing. It's just a cycle. But again, I don't think that, and I'm separating this from the women who just want, the narratives in the WNBA to be expressed fairly. But if we're being honest, nobody is saying that if anybody has some sort of not animosity, just a little bit of envy about all the attention that's natural. Like, no, I don't understand why that's a bad thing. Like, it's natural when you are a competitor, when you are ambitious, to see something that someone else has and be like, I want it, I'm gonna beat her, I'm gonna take her. Like, there's a difference between using that as motivation and using that and letting that hate and jealousy consume you for negative things. We see men have beefs with each other strictly because one player is better than them. I'm not saying that that's the case here, but what I'm saying is I hate that this jealousy thing and this hating thing has a negative tone to it because jealousy is normal in sports to a degree. We're talking about the greatest competitors in the world. There is nothing wrong with having a little bit of, oh, she thinks she hot. All right, we gonna like that's okay. Why is that being made into such a negative thing? But more importantly, if you don't have a name to add to that narrative, don't generalize it and make it seem like one, that's not natural, and two, it's just a unanimous consensus amongst all women. We share more, we don't share a brain, we don't share emotions. Like, it's not how that works. Like, and it's flush, like, leave this girl alone. Let her hoop. It's just such an ugly rookie experience. I feel bad for her. I really genuinely feel bad for her. It's ugly, unnecessarily.
It's definitely ugly. It's definitely unnecessary.
Yeah, like,
And like you said, just in all, let these women hoop
right.
and watch how amazing all of them are out there on the court and how competitive they are and celebrate that
Yes.
because we see it night in and night out in the W. So, I mean, this is not the last time, unfortunately, just knowing how the world works, that we're going to have this conversation. But I hope that people start changing their conversation in from hate into, wow, these women can play, and let's talk about
Right.
how they play against each other, and how this league is amazing because it is.
Exactly.
Period.
Right
So
there.
let's change this up, y'all, because we don't want to talk about this all season. We want to talk about what's really going out
We can
on
keep
there on the
going, but
court.
we won't.
Listen, we won't.